Thanks for tuning in to the Marvel Movie Minute.
Want to skip those pesky ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
Welcome to a world in which the New York Knicks are world champions of basketball, and we're hosting the Marvel Movie Minute, a weekly podcast which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Brunson universe 5 minutes at a time. In this, our 9th season, but the first of the New York Knicks as champions, we're looking at Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm Matthew Fox.
I'm other sports person.
Sports, Pete Wright.
And today we're talking about minutes 91 through 95, which begins with Nick and Maria introducing the MacGuffin of the film and ends with biometric hazard lanyards. All right, so let's start with Bucky's brain wipe. Bucky gets, we just see this is the thing, I guess, that wipes his brain. What are our thoughts on this?
Well, as someone who has spent a lot of time working in IT, when in doubt, reboot. That's exactly what they're doing here.
It is. Is this so they put him in the sort of the Phantom of the Opera device, kind of covers half his face for some reason, and they wipe him and start over.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I do too. I'm okay with it being in a bank vault. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
You use what you got, and who knows where all this equipment came from, but I do like that Bucky gets his reboot.
Well, and at this point, I think it's worth noting that the movie is doing a very sharp left turn, because it started with the Winter Soldier is the scariest that's ever scary to scary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's trying to say, but Bucky is just a nice, soft little Bucky who loves Cap, and it's not his fault that he's a mass murderer. And I'm joking about it, but I think actually it's doing a very good job. Little scenes like this, like that little scream, shows how much this is not what Bucky wants. It really kind of reminds you, it's okay to be rooting for Bucky because he doesn't want to be the Winter Soldier, and they're literally torturing him to get him to do these things.
Yeah, it makes me think it's sort of the opposite of Darth Maul, where we see during the fight, the climactic fight in the Phantom Menace, where he's anxiously pacing outside the thing, cannot wait to get back into the fight.
Yeah.
And this is the exact opposite, where it's like he would prefer to not have to do this, but he is part of the conditioning.
So the story goes, yep.
I also do like the kludgy nature of all of this stuff. Like, it's not cool and slick and smooth. It's all like janky and put together. Like, this is clearly the mobile unit. Like, somewhere there's probably a really, probably slick for the 50s, version of this, but this is the one that they can fit in the back of a truck so they can take it from place to place. This is the mobile Winter Soldier operating system.
It's like Tony's briefcase suit version.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It does all the stuff. It's some of the stuff, but not all the stuff.
We don't have a lot of time with it. And there's some knuckle cracking from Pierce at the wipe and get on with it bit, but we pretty quickly move back into our core folks.
That's right. Our heroes have been reunited with the formerly dead Nick Fury,
who is all slinged up. What do we think of Nick and his? This scene is, I think, actually really great because Nick thinks he's still in charge. And this is the scene where he is disabused of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a big power shift that happens in the middle of the scene.
He thinks he's still in charge, and he thinks that that this is still a controllable problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he starts out, and first of all, they introduce the MacGuffin, which are not targeting chips, they're targeting blades.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a computer person. Is that a term that has any relevance in computers, or is it just to make them sound cooler?
No, it is a term that has relevance. However, these are not server blades. Like they make a big, because I think they just thought it sounded cool. Server blades are much, much bigger. Like each of them would be about the size of, I would say a lunchbox. But does anyone even know how big of a lunchbox is anymore?
Nobody eats lunch anymore.
Cool.
Okay. So so they're large. I mean, like a A server rack is sort of the big ones you see out of that, but a blade is sort of like maybe a third size of that, so they would be big. These are really what we shucked hard drives. These are just like SSD drives that have been, and then the prop department made them all fancy, and they probably just really liked that term.
Yeah.
Who's server blade?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so Nick and Maria are giving us the exposition. They're explaining the MacGuffin, and it's seemingly going okay until he talks about, Cap says that we have to assume every one of those ships is S.H.I.E.L.D. And
HYDRA.
Nick says that we have to assume every one of those ships is HYDRA, but that he hopes we can still salvage something, and that's when Cap jumps in.
Mm-hmm. There's some great set up stuff here for the fight. Here are the rules. Here's the goal. I love this kind of stuff when they have a big action scene's about to come. Here's where you tell you, here are the goals, here are the rules, here are the things we're supposed to do. So it's the video game part of it. Okay, get the blue cards into each of these things, and anyone you fight along the way is a bad guy and therefore can be punched off the side of this thing. We're sort of clearing the moral judgment off of this thing. Hey, if you're on that ship, you must be evil. Nick says that and everybody just goes, okay.
Right.
Just go, wait, but hold on. Aren't there probably techs who are it's just their job to just, keep the stuff running? They're not actually HYDRA. But no, to have a clean moral fight here in Marvel, we cannot consider anyone else on that ship to be anybody who is not 100% in favor of HYDRA's plan of murdering a bunch of people.
And there's only one more objective as a result. This is boss level. This is climax.
Yes.
There is no more complication, moral or otherwise. It's just server blades and the fighting that it will take to accomplish that goal. What do you think about the politics, though? The thing that surprises me the most is when Maria, right-hand person to Nick Fury, agrees with Cap.
Mm-hmm.
Is she angling for a job in the new regime? That felt the most. It's not unexpected. I don't have a problem with it. It's just the surprise. I think it's great.
I think it's a surprise, but I think it makes sense. I don't think Maria has any agenda here. I think this is what she's supposed to do, because yes, Nick wants S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, Nick wants to push forward with things. And yes, Nick keeps his cards very close to the vest, but I don't think he's the person who would surround himself with yes men or yes people.
Yeah.
And I think he keeps Maria around because she's one of the only people he can trust. And most of the time she will support him, but she'll also call him out when he's wrong. And I think Nick goes along with it, not because of what Sam says, not because of what Cap says, but because Maria agrees. Because that's what for Nick is okay. And even then, it's not like he's you've convinced me. It's just sort of all right, well, looks like you're giving the orders now, Captain, as he says.
Yeah, it's nice how he does sort of the whip around, for Maria being one of the first ones to be yeah, we can't do this. And then him looking at each person going along with it. And then I think one of the best reactions in that is Nat, because she gives him nothing.
Nothing. The lean back.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. She just there's absolutely just blank space. Now that's a combination of director, actor, editor. It could have been just a regular scene. They were just shooting her coverage and they put it in there. But just the fact that it's a flat affect that she's giving absolutely nothing is perfect in that scene.
The machine that we saw the Winter Soldier in. How
much of that machine is Marvel Comics? I think is what you're asking. Not very. I mean, from what like I say in the comics, it was very, very different. There's a lot more mysticism and all that kind of stuff. So this is very much of a movie invention, and I like, and it goes along with the theme of sort of Winter Soldier 2 of everything is being very of the physical world. We don't have anything mystical or weird or so. I mean, we had a talking, we had an AI. Essentially, that's about as sci-fi as it gets, and everything else is sort of much more visceral, more a real motor oil under your finger.
Okay.
I was,
Pete,
but who knows if I'll be
something.
able to get it out. I'll speak quickly. If we stop and just do a little bit of armchairing, and I wonder if there is some other comic lore that supports this. What is Fury imagining he's going to get back by assuming that everybody agrees we're going to fight for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, so I guess his thought is we stop the ships and then we clean house, and then, by the end of the month, everything's back to normal.
I mean, I think, like, there's a difference between stopping the ships and destroying the ships.
Yeah.
And so that might be part of it. He might be kind of force a landing and arrest all the people on, and like clear them out that way. I mean, part of it is that we know that there was an aspect of Project Insight that Nick Fury was in favor of. And the movie is very careful to not say what is the line of how much of this Nick was okay with, and where does it become something that he would not have been okay with, and Hydra tried to kill him because of that. And I in some ways I really like that it doesn't tell us, because I don't think the point is supposed to be that Nick is a very morally gray character, and like we saw in Avengers, not that he's morally gray for his own power, but that he's kind of a oh god, I can't remember her name. Amanda Waller, from DC Comics, of like that person who is not a personal gain in the slightest. They have a very legitimate fear that Earth is going to be taken over, and they want to defend Earth, and they're very suspicious of outsiders, and that has led to a kind of like the ends justify the means, whatever we have to do is okay. And like I would kind of have liked to see like more of what Nick would have been or not been okay with, but I think it's very intentional that we don't, because it's probably Cap would probably be even less in favor of working with Nick if he knew.
Yeah, and if Nick was healthy, like if he was, I think, would he have actually stood up to Cap at this point? I mean, Cap is saying like, I'm burning it all down. Like everything that you built, it's all going. If Nick was at his prime, if this was Avengers Nick Fury, would there be much more of a confrontation, like choosing sides, a la Civil War? Or is it just like his point where he's like so hurt? Like we know that like none of the stuff that he suffered was fake. Like he literally was shot several times that day or the day before. And now, it's like sort of like, okay, well, I don't have the physical, I don't have the mental power in this. Yeah, exactly. Like I've run out of spoons.
Yeah, it is interesting to me, and I asked the question largely because of how effective they've constructed the film and the script in making this confrontation inevitable. There is nothing that we in the audience could imagine Nick has left, right? Because there's no way you're going to be able to tell who was Hydra and who was S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Everybody, even at the end, I have no... There is no belief system that will allow me to imagine people who are Hydra, saying, okay, I was Hydra, arrest me. Right. And I think that, that the film has done a really, really good job of, from the first act, saying the last act is inevitable. We're not going to be able to get it. And so this scene seems almost perfunctory that of course we have to have the turn, but Nick's heart, like you say, Kyle, doesn't appear to be in it. For whatever reason, he knows, he's clearly, the moment he says it, I feel like he knows things aren't going to go his way. Yeah.
I mean, I think he is at heart a pragmatist. I don't think he's had a change of heart. I don't think he has decided that Cap is right and I am wrong. I think he's decided I'm not going to win this fight. I'm going to fight a different battle.
Yeah.
And in terms of the inevitability of it, I think you're right. And I think, and this is one of the weird things about slowing down a movie this much to 5 minutes a week, because what I'm about to say is going to sound like a critique of the movie, but I think when we watch the movie, it's doing it so fast that you don't notice, and that's a praise to it. But the movie is doing one hell of a kind of bait and switch, not even bait and switch, but like pulling the wool over our eyes, because not only is it getting us to believe that this fight is inevitable, but it's getting us to believe that S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra is like all there is.
That's a good point.
Whereas like Nick Fury, like, there is still an American president. there is still an American military.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, Dover Air Force Base probably has a whole bunch of jets that can knock these helicarriers out of the sky real damn fast. And probably would once they start shooting civilians. But the movie gets us to forget all that because it wants us to be in, like, the conceit of the movie has to be that Hydra is taking over everything. And it sort of has, but it sort of hasn't. But the movie's very good, I think. It's saying that, like, no, in this moment, it feels like they have, and that's all that matters. And so we're kind of constraining all of Nick's options here. And so I think this scene is really important to help understand, why isn't Nick going somewhere else? Why isn't Nick trying to go outside of S.H.I.E.L.D. to get help? And no, because he believes, like, all right, Cap's calling the play.
I mean, this is the answer to the scene we had before the elevator fight when Cap walked into Nick's office, right? Like, it is inevitable. It is inevitable that these two would have to have that turn.
Right.
Mhm.
It is, after all, lest we forget, a Captain America movie.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because I was talking to another Marvel zombie who about Daredevil Born Again season 2. I'm trying to remember what their terminology is, and how the longer that season went on, the more ridiculous it was that no one showed up. Like, it wasn't that Matt Murdock called for help and no one came. It was literally like, no, never at. And like, Spider-Man's in the city. Like, he's literally in the same city. And yet it got more, by the end of it, it was just absolutely like the whole nature of the whole thing started to fall apart. But here, the call should be to Tony. Like, by the nature of like, because of all things, like, he would be the one person of all these people that you could trust, because he doesn't care about any of this. Like, he's not involved in any of the, like, to bring in. But the way they have built this, and never even really think about it. Like, it's sort of like it's like, oh, we got to keep the circle small. We have to do this ourselves. Like, but you were on the Avengers. Like, the Avengers are still like an active thing. Like, there are several of those people who would take your call right now, and that you could bring in, and it would be fine. I mean, can you trust the Hulk? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to work for Hydra. Like,
and I do think that this movie, as much as I think after the first Avengers movie, that's always going to be a question.
Yes.
And granted, the second Avengers movie at least gets both Thor and Bruce off the chessboard.
Yes.
Because they're both off, wherever they are. But I do think that this movie is much better than a lot of the others in terms of, like, again, if I stop and think about it, I'm not thinking about Tony in a way that, like, with Daredevil, with the Defenders, which was another Daredevil project, with some of the Spider-Man movies, in some of the other, and granted, those have licensing issues, but like,
I said that.
Even in some of the other
start to get into the legality, and then you start to get into the budget, and you start to get into the schedule thing, and I'm like, I don't want to be thinking about that when I'm watching.
Some of the Black Panther stuff, like, so there's a lot of other stuff we are sort of like, wait a minute, why are the other Avengers not getting involved? And I think you can ask that question here, but I think they do a pretty good job of, again, like, I wish there'd been a line about, like, can we reach out to Tony? Can we trust him? Something like that, or he's retired or whatever. But I think this movie is better than most at not giving you a chance to ask that question because it's going so fast.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and this is a, less about a super powered soldier and a legendary leader of super powered people than it is about two men and their egos and the way they handle conflict. And so once you get into that kind of a sort of mano a mano discussion, it becomes the thing that they have to resolve together, that adding Tony would not be a thing that would help. And it's why the final scene of Civil War, the final fight of Civil War, is between two men, right? These two egos, these two personalities that have to resolve their stuff. And that's what we get in this scene. So I'm here for it. I like it. I wasn't. So it's only like right now when you guys plant the seed that I should be thinking about Tony. Of course I should be thinking about you've ruined the movie for me, Kyle. I'm hanging it up.
No, yeah. I was Yeah, see, I'm not trying to plant the seed. I'm saying they did such a good way, and also it's so fast. Like because like they say, this all is like in like 3 days. Like this, so I mean, it could be that they're all on their way, but they just don't get there in time because this all has to be done within 48 hours. The one thing I will say is there is in the first draft, Hawkeye was in this movie, so there was during the chase where they're trying to get Captain America, there was a scene where they like the helicopter was going and Hawkeye was there and then like basically missed the shot. And they're like, which you never missed. He's like, oh, well, first time for everything. He's like, yeah. And also, I don't want any part of this. I'm just going to go back to my farm and just sort of left. So they did have like a cameo by our definition now with him. But they were like, it's not really worth it for that one thing. But it is conspicuous by their absence that like they'd never even say. Like he is a SHIELD agent. Like he is part of this whole thing. And they never even like mention his name.
Yeah. Especially because he's so important to Natasha.
Exactly.
I should also mention I made an error. So if you've already hit send on your angry email, fine. But if you're still typing, please slow down. This movie is not after Age of Ultron. It is before.
This is before, yeah.
So Thor might well be off doing his own thing, but Bruce Banner is around. I mean, he was literally name dropped as one of the people that these people are going to go after. I would think. If I knew I was trying to stop some helicarriers that were possibly going to kill one
maybe
of my friends,
the big green guy is the guy.
Yeah. Just be like, yeah, like if you want to come help, great. If not, maybe like just go to a gym and like don't be out in the open for a while.
We get the again with Sam, and one of the great lines of the movie, I do what he does, just slower. Oh God, I love this guy.
I know.
He's
It was
just
so great in this. This also, as we're talking about things that aren't here, this is also where there is a very famous deleted scene, maybe the most notorious deleted scene in all of MCU, in that I think it's like a minute and a half, and it's really good, and it should have been in the movie. Honestly, because this is where you get Natasha and Nick together, which they don't get a lot of screen time in this movie together. And then they have this scene, so I think it would follow immediately after this before we go to the flashback, where they have this conversation, and he gives her the photostatic veil, which she will eventually use and down the line. That comes. It's a Deus Ex Machina. It comes out of nowhere later on, but in that scene, they're having this quiet moment and gives it to her, and that's how she. Even if we don't know what it is later on, when it shows up, you go, "Oh, that's the thing," and he gave her into the. Oh, all right.
Well, I think that scene would have been great, both for that reason, but also because, as we mentioned before, she does not take a side in this. She's just, stoic. And she started the movie very much on Nick's side. Like, to me, she's like just over the line from Maria Hill. Maria Hill is a little more trusted, but she's pretty darn close. And there've been some interesting things about like the way they position them in terms of who is closer to Nick, her or Maria. And then we've seen her more and more turn to Cap. And so I feel like Nick, does Nick ask her like what she thinks of this at all during that scene?
Not exactly. It's basically, she says, he walks in and she's just sitting at the desk. It's sort of the same expression. And she says, I thought you were dead, Nick. And Nick is once again still trying to justify. He said, I had to keep the circle small. You'd have done the same thing. Yep. And she says, I know. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends. But also, once again, theme. There we go. The thing, like once again, it's the thing of like, oh yeah, maybe this is the problem. This is the.
Well, and I think that is a very good way of showing, like, yeah, she has been convinced by Cap, because it's her time with Cap that makes her see it's a problem. So
right.
Yeah, that's a miss. For a couple of reasons. First of all, you're absolutely right. Like it's a really good scene between these two actors. Discussing grief and their relationship with one another, and it's so short. It is mind-boggling that they cut it for that reason. And second, because I do think the photostatic veil is made better. Because I don't know, this was the comic lore question. Kyle, does she have a photostatic veil in her bag of tricks?
No, S.H.I.E.L.D. did a lot more stuff with LMDs, but I don't really that's a whole other thing. And actually, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did a whole LMD thing. So if you want to know about life model decoys, they did like a couple seasons that were around that. Yeah. But yeah, they did much more of like full replacement as opposed to just like. But I'm sure there are lots of Marvel lore. I'll have to break out Hotmu again and see if I can find something.
Well, it's just one of those things that the fact that it just exists in her bag of tricks. I get it. I get like thinking that this is a thing that she might plausibly have as in her job, and also the fact that they have this scene with Nick. I think it makes it better that Nick is already a sort of co-conspirator, because they don't. It's not like he says, "Here's what it is, and here's how you're going to use it." It's here's a thing that you get to have, and she takes it and she knows what it is, kind of a thing, right? I'm like,
Chekhov's veil,
right? Chekhov's veil.
Mhm.
Okay. Flashback.
Yep.
Flashback. Yeah. So we go outside. We're still at the dam, and we then see Steve is in his head, and we go back and we get to see. So this is nice, because now for those who didn't see First Avenger, now here's Bucky. Like here he actually is as Cap remembers him.
Right.
By what I could tell, this was about 1936. Sarah Rogers is Steve's mother, and she has just died. In the MCU continuity, she was a nurse at a tuberculosis clinic, got TB, and died from that. So this is about 7 years before we see Cap the first time in like the movie theater and the expo and stuff too. That would be 1943. So this is much. They look just like they did that one, but they're actually a lot younger than when we see them in First Avenger. But movie magic. And we could see Skinny Steve. Yay.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that, but we do get Skinny Steve, and that's the real gift of this sequence. I missed Skinny Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that helps us remember him too. Remember that like as we see Cap is about to be leaping from place and throwing shields and stuff too. Yeah, he's still that little kid just bulked up.
Well, and I think you're both bearing the lead also, which is that to me, the most important part of this flashback is it reminds us of the line that they will pass back and forth through the rest of the movies with you till the end of the line.
That's right. Yeah, plant that here because it's going to come back and again and again.
And not to be a broken record, but is that a line that comes from the comics, or is that something the Russos come up with?
No, that was
very effective.
That was Marcus McFeely. That was something they did.
Yeah. And it sounds old-timey enough that it really works, like.
So then we see like his first partner and now his current partner, because then we come back to the dam and there is Sam, there's the Falcon, and everything. And Falcon's basically saying, hey, so we're about to kill your best friend.
You going to be able to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, being very pragmatic about it. Like, like you're sort of like, hey, so you're prepared to put a bullet into your best friend, right? Because that's probably what's going to happen.
Another of Sam's great lines. I don't think he's the kind of guy you save. He's the kind of guy you stop. Yeah.
He's the kind
I don't know if I can do that. Well,
yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you'll have that choice, but let's go. Do you know what you're going to wear? And then Steve goes shopping.
I know.
Right.
What's the dress code for this? Like, what are we?
So I don't know if this is just because I'm Star Wars obsessed or because this was an intentional callback. But for me, I can't see that moment without immediately thinking of Obi-Wan telling Luke, you can't save Vader. You're going to have to kill him. And Vader basically, and Luke basically saying, no, there's still good in him. And even just some of how it was shot, the blocking of it and the way they're positioned against each other felt very similar to that. And, and again, I don't know if they like had a conscious thought of it or just like every person who doesn't hate film of their generation, of my generation, they've probably seen that scene a dozen times at least. It was in their head somewhat, but it is to me very much a kind of homage to that. And because it's the same idea. It's very much that same thought of like, is there still good in this person? And raising the question that I often kind of wonder about these things that if I remember, this movie does a pretty good job of, but that I think is worth asking, which is, it's one thing to say, I will risk myself because I think that I can save this person, even if while I'm trying to save them, they kill me, I'm willing to take that risk. But sometimes what happens is I could stop them now, but I'm going to try to save them. And in between my stopping them now and my saving them later, they kill a whole bunch of people. And to what extent am I responsible for that? And like, to me, we were talking about Daredevil. In Jessica Jones, she doesn't want to stop her mother. She thinks her mother can be saved. And
Yeah.
Alon kills a bunch of people in between. And there's a number of other examples where that happens. I think even in the Obi-Wan show, Obi-Wan not stopping Vader, I think there's some level of that. I don't think that's going to come up here, but I think it's to me, that always needs to be part of the equation when we're asking, like, yes, you believe they can be saved, but what is the consequence of not stopping them in the moment when you can stop them?
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a framing I want us to have in mind when we get to those scenes.
Yeah, that's really that's interesting. And I don't I feel like I just watched this whole movie and I don't remember how many people he kills after Cap knows. Do we have any more scenes of just Winter Soldier brutality?
No. I mean, like the next time we see him, it will be on the helicarriers or around that area. Right. Yeah, during that fight.
And I don't think there's a moment where like Steve pulls his punch. Like I want to see this fight again. So I think we escape that.
But it's a good one.
For the most
It's a
part.
good one.
But
yeah,
we'll see.
Okay. So we have our flashback. Bucky's offering him a place to stay. Pull out the couch cushions like we used to when we were kids. Yeah. I love it. That's very, very sweet. Now we have.
Yeah. So, because it's actually like now Steve's dad died in World War I. So he had his mom. He was raised by a single mother, and now he's on his own. And so I think they say it without saying it, which it's sort of like a mark of a good screenwriter too, of like Bucky's saying, "Come live with me," but they don't actually say, we talked about it. It would be a good idea if you came and live with me. You just by inference, by like you're coming in the middle of a conversation, you get what he's after. And also the thing with the key is just such a subtle thing of, I've been around.
They're in each other's lives. Yeah.
Right. They don't make a thing of it like, don't you remember your mom always left a key by the I mean, it's just a thing that happens.
I think that's why I go back to that, because the next beat after they decide what are you going to wear is him going back in time again, right? He's just been in this flashback on the dam and thinking about his past. And where does he go? To the Smithsonian to, first of all, get Stan Lee fired and so
that's
cameo and steals his original uniform. Not original, but original-ish, original adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he doesn't go to the back of the Avengers one, which is much brighter colors, and of course, Chris Evans notoriously hated the helmet from that one too. It was very uncomfortable to wear. So to go back all the way, it's like, reconnecting with him. I'm going to be dressed in the outfit that he last saw me in when he fell off of the train. Like maybe that will help as well.
Oh, and it's funny that you think of it for that reason, because I saw it in a very different way. I saw it as him rejecting S.H.I.E.L.D.
That too.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's both. Yeah.
Yeah. The other one is that's the one that S.H.I.E.L.D. gave him. And he's like, no, I'm going back to the one I had before anyone had even said the word S.H.I.E.L.D.
Even though the blues on the shield were so much better. Oh my God.
Yes. And we talked about this a little bit when he visited this museum, but he was in that suit when he went into the ice. So is is this that suit, or is it one of the other ones that they had made for him
and they took it off him and put it in a museum?
They took it. They probably got it from Phil Coulson's apartment. Like it was probably on a mannequin there, and they brought it back and then put it up in Smithsonian. And there's probably a plaque, if you look really close, that says from the collection of Phil Coulson.
Look, if you've played D&D, you know that noxious fumes is her spell. And like, that's going to have a lot of moss, a lot of must on it, a lot of mold, that's a weapon unto itself.
So perfect.
And so then we see the unveiling of the heroes is Maria walks out and she's back in her S.H.I.E.L.D. Jumpsuit, which that's a classic comic thing. Like all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents used to wear like sort of the classic jumpsuit, including Nick Fury. And then we see Sam in a slightly different version. He's sort of in a flight suit and then has the wing suit pieces on top of it. So thank God, not comic accurate. Like some comic things should be left in the comics.
This is what you imagine he would have been wearing when he was on duty. The first time he wasn't on duty.
Right.
He just stole some stuff.
Yeah, especially flying at night. Like you don't want to be in red and white. And then Cap appears in his full classic World War II gear. And wait, aren't we missing someone? Like there seems to be there were 4 heroes. Where's the last one?
We'll never know.
We'll never know. So because they cut back to S.H.I.E.L.D. to the Triskelion, where we see the Council has made a physical appearance and are being escorted by Pierce.
Can I just say
building.
I love the reverse shot. We're behind Cap and Maria and Sam, and we crane up over the trees, and they're across the Potomac from the Triskelion. Is there a boat?
Yeah.
How are they gonna swim?
I saw it and I was thinking, guess who's on the wrong side of the river?
On the wrong side of town. I mean, I appreciate that they snuck through the woods, but I do feel like they could have been more efficient. Anyway.
Yeah. So it gets into that whole like the fox and the thing of like having to
the
transport
fox and the chicken and the
one
corn.
by one is
right.
like bringing them there. The fox and the chicken. Yeah.
Oh, I've always heard as missionaries and cannibals.
I like
probably
that.
a much more offensive way to describe it. So,
yeah.
So yes.
Also, just as a side note, we don't know that this Maria Hill is a Skrull.
Okay,
but let's
now.
move on.
We haven't seen that post-credits scene yet.
We don't.
It's true.
We don't.
All right. And then we are in the Triskelion.
This is what
we have
bugs
a
me
great
about that movie.
a hero shot of the Insight, and it's going to launch soon. We get some control people, and yes, then we're in the lobby, and Pierce is welcoming the rest of the council and handing them their "surely we're not hanging a flag on it" lanyards to clip on their clothes.
No, it's just a piece of costuming. I mean, it has its own insert shot, but I'm sure that's
nothing. It's just going to get you through all the doors. Any doors you want to get into, it will give you unlimited access to the Triskelion. Surely he doesn't mean that. We'll never know. So that's the end.
And there also is another little cameo, I guess. Well, this is actually, by our new definition, not a cameo, a small role. The actor says, we are a go on guidance, is Aaron Himmelstein from Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Shout out to my Chi-Town folks. 41 acting credits on IMDb. He is another Community crossover. So he is another actor from Community who they brought over to do this. He was, if you remember the episode about ethics, he was the sort of motivational speaker that was in a wheelchair that was trying to prove that Jeff, like that there's moral good in the world.
Yeah.
And then sort of launched himself, and knowing Jeff would catch him.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So he looks very different. If you look, like he's very different in that one. But yeah, he'll be back because he's going to take a moral stance here as the minutes continue on. But he's another one of their Community people that they brought.
And I need to go in a minute, but next time let's just put a pin in it to talk about the actor who plays the older. I think he's like a Secretary of State. He's some kind of American political person. But he's on the council because I've seen that actor in a million things.
For sure.
Yeah. We did that episode. We talked about. We did a deep dive on all of them.
Oh, then never mind.
But,
okay.
The guy who says, "Oh, you can't keep an eye on Captain America," he's mostly from Lost, is what he's probably most famous for.
Okay.
He's Charles Widmore.
All right.
Cool.
That's it. We don't get a perfect ending to the scene. They do actually get the end of the sentence, which is nice. This will give you unrestricted access after acknowledging that S.H.I.E.L.D. can't control the traffic. This is, and here we go. We're still on the ride. Who knows what's going to happen next? I'm very excited about it. Any last looks, last notes? I think that's it.
No, I think
all right.
From here on out. Yeah, we're hitting third act.
That's right. So get out of here, everybody. MarvelMovieMinute.com. That's where you can find everything about the show. You can even join us there and support us and become a member, get early access to this thing without ads. We would love to have your support, and you'll also get into our Discord server where you can talk at us, with us, to us. We would love to see you there. Thanks, everybody. On behalf of Kyle Olsen and Matthew Fox, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you next week on the Triskelion.
Enough said.